Nice to see a couple of players getting minutes in that one. I guess Ross McCrorie is the one that a lot of people look at. What do you make of his effort midweek?
Yeah, his effort's never in question for me. I thought that was a tough game. I think when you look at the balance of the team, I think they're never easy, those games. The conditions are not easy, and the same in terms of when you throw a group that haven't trained or played together. I think the perception. You throw some first team seniors in it that it should be an easy game, but it never works out like that. So I think the biggest thing for me was did we get what we wanted from it, which was obviously match minutes for quite a few of them, and yeah, pleased to say they came through it well.
Okay. And does that put Ross in your thinking for squad selection in the next couple of games, or are you being very cautious given the amount of time that he's been out?
He's a lot closer. I think that was definitely a right step in in the right direction, the way we want him to go. It's obviously a pre-season stage for him, but he's been back in full training for a while. He's obviously progressively added match minutes, so he's really close to being involved.
And frankly, if you put him on the bench with the possibility of getting 15, 20 minutes, whatever it would be out of him, is that something you'd sort of look at and think, oh, that'd be all right?
You could pick the team there. No, he's very close to that, yeah. I think that's one that in coming weeks we'll definitely see really, really soon.
Okay. And from that point of view, just competition for places, we know that's there in certain positions, less so in others, but particularly covering those defensive areas where you are really short of bodies, that's got to be making your job a bit easier.
Yeah, so it's obviously definitely a positive and a right step to where we want to get to by having that competition and the opportunity to change it. We've asked, like I said previously, especially the back four to the number of minutes is massive since we've come in. So I think it's such a heavy programme, having competition, but also having the opportunity to freshen things up and change things is really important. So yeah, it'd be great to see him back.
And is Hayden in the same sort of boat in terms of his closeness to getting back involved?
Yeah, marginally behind, but not far. He's in full training now, Hayden, so he'll also be available soon.
Okay. And more minutes, even though Naki's played a little bit, it's a bit difficult when you're trying to get fit while playing. So those minutes, is it a sharpness thing with him?
Yeah, and to be fair to Naki, he wanted to play. He was really keen to play and get the match minutes in. That balance. I think you can give them some really good physical work in training. You can do the extra running after games. We have to say the staff do a terrific job of making sure individually the players get what they need physically, technically, tactically. In the sessions after a game. But sometimes that unpredictability, the spaces, the directness of the game at times, playing against an opponent that's unpredictable, those bits that are sometimes difficult to replicate in training because you're up against people that that know you. So again, I think like I say, fair play, Naki wanted to play a half, so it was good for him to get minutes.
And for you, how do you balance a week like this when I'm sure you're desperate to get more pitch time and do the work that you've been trying to do for the last couple of months, but then I'm sure you equally got half an eye on midweek game next week, tired legs after a busy Christmas, all the rest of it. How's that panned out?
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. I think shot myself in the foot a little bit, didn't I, saying around having training time in January, which is obviously we've lost a week of it. So, I think obviously we had the opportunity last week where it was just a single game week and then another one this week. So again, I think we've, Tuesday was the opportunity to kind of get people what they needed. And then we trained all together as a group today. I think that was, part of the reason for some of the lads doing 45s and 60s was that it then didn't impact the training session today, so they could obviously get a full hit in training. So, the lads are in a good spot, I think, in terms of they're kind of over the Christmas period, I think, which is what we've had to do with the schedule. And we've had a good opportunity to train this week as well.
Knowing you, I'm sure you've watched back Sunday's match and sort of picked bits and pieces from it. Having had a little bit more time to sort of assess it, is it what you thought at the time? Is there anything else you've taken away from it that you were particularly pleased with?
The fans are incredible. I'm not on social media, but I got shown the video of them celebrating, which was incredible. I think from a football perspective, I think it was one of those. I think the performance was. I do talk a lot around behaviours, and I think we kind of showed that, whether it be the discipline to play the structure that we want and to execute a game plan, whether it be the bravery to go and play. West Ham pressed us at times, and I thought the lads showed terrific bravery to go and try to play. And then I thought the focus to actually execute it and the quality they showed at times was very good. So. Again, I think it's bits, like I said, we're moving in the right direction. We know we've still got work to do, but again, I think it was a terrific day for the lads.
Yeah, and it's that consistency now, isn't it? And is there a help with those kind of games that it gives belief to the players that actually, we're trying to do these things, and now we've done it against a team that's currently sixth in the Premier League and done pretty well. So actually, we can see where we're going.
It should do. But again, I think it comes down to hard work. It comes down to constantly reviewing how you work, understanding what you're being asked to do. And it's one of the first things that impressed me coming here was the lads' ability to quickly pick up information and transfer it into games. And then it's a case of over time getting better at playing that, which, like I said, a lot of it's come through the games at the minute. Having the opportunity to train like we did last week, and then obviously again this week, I think hopefully you start to see that progress in time of how we control games and what it looks like. So we definitely have to take the belief, the confidence, but we also have to understand why we're able to do what we did, because that then allows you to try and repeat it.
Very different test coming up this weekend than West Ham will pose in terms of the way that the teams are likely to set up. What are you expecting from Preston?
A really tough game. I think when you look at them, they're extremely honest, hard-working, well organised. I watched them live. To be fair, I was on in the office watching them against Sunderland. I thought they caused real problems second half. I saw them again in bits at Chelsea as well. So again, what you mustn't do, I think, is look at their recent run of results, because the performances don't always reflect that. I think they carry threats. Like I said, well organised, honest, hard-working team that we need to make sure that we're the same level of preparation, the same level of detail goes into what we do, and then making sure our heads are in the right space to control what we can.
Would you expect a sort of Millwall, maybe not quite Birmingham in terms of the level of defensiveness, but looking to give you a problem to break down rather than come and try and get out at you?
Not sure, to be fair. I think they've done both. Again, I think that Ryan's a good coach, to be fair. So again, I think they've got the ability to do both. So again, I think we have to be prepared for both, and we have to make sure that we adapt to what they do and problem solve. I think it's a big bit for that. We do all the work. We spend ages in terms of prepping for games, but again, I think we have to put a lot of and we do a lot of trust in the players and challenge the players to, when the game starts, they have to solve the problem, because everything we show in animations and we talk around, it might look different. So it's really important that we have players that can think, that can problem solve. And like I keep coming back to, they understand the game of why they do things.
There are plenty of players that have done well in the last few weeks under you. One player particularly that seems to have had a real boost is Joe Williams in midfield. He's struggled with injuries now. He's had a proper amount of time fit, which is undoubtedly helped, but he looks like he's really taken to what you're asking him to do. Could you just talk a little bit about how you found working with him?
Yeah, brilliant. Love him. I think he's been outstanding the last few games. I think he's got certain qualities that I think are difficult to find. I think he's got a real edge to him. I think even in the time we've been here, I think he's progressively got better at, and probably the last minute Millwall will make people doubt this, but I think he's got better at controlling his emotions, where he stays in the game, he stays present, he stays doing his job, which again I thought you saw at the weekend. He had a little bit with a little bit of a flare up with a few of the West Ham lads, but carried on doing his job, which again I think it's important that he's so invested, he cares so much, he's desperate to do well. And again, I think in terms of I think what he's shown is his qualities with and without the ball, and he's one that I think is going to progressively get better the more consistency and rhythm he gets.
Just finally, we talked about sort of players getting closer to coming back from injury. Anything picked up at the weekend, or is it a relatively clean bill of health?
No, touch wood, relatively clean bill of health, and long may it continue.
Fantastic, thank you.
Is Mark Sykes still out, or is he's still out? And
still out, but close. He's moving, he's rehabbing. We'll have a clearance scan soon, and then be able to up him quickly.
And Cal's
going to be a while. We're not going to see Cal for a little while. He's had a little bit of a clean up. So he's not going to be out. He's going to be out for a while.
Is that a hamstring with Cal?
Yeah, there's a few bits. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone who didn't make the squads on Sunday and wasn't involved for the 21s. I just wondered what his kind of situation is. If he's injured potentially, is Ephraim Yeboah? Just wondered what the situation is.
F's fit. To be fair, he was going to play in the Youth Cup yesterday. So he was going to get the opportunity to do that. I think in terms of just competitions there, I think Ray's come in and done extremely well in training with us. And that's the big bit, I think, is F's terrific character, wants to learn, wants to get better. And again, I think what you'll find with young players, they'll have moments, high moments, low moments, moments where they're doing well, moments where they're struggling a little bit. And again, I think it's difficult for sometimes the young players when you train, you travel, and you get out of rhythm of playing games, etc. So again, I think that balance of getting success as well as being challenged, I think is really important. So again, part of the plan was for him to play in the Youth Cup.
And so is he still training with the first team, or is he sort of back in the...
He's between the groups at the minute, yeah.
Okay, and how's he kind of... Because it's a bit of a, he only signed his professional deal in July, so it was a bit of a sort of rapid rise, and then, I'm not saying he's come down, but you know what I'm saying, it's quite a departure, having got used to being part of the first team. How's he kind of dealt with that? I guess it's a test of his character as well, in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's part of his development as well. I think, especially when you're young players, I think I've had it a lot when I was at West Ham, to be fair, players that, get around it very quickly and have, levels of success. I think, you then get to a stage where you have to understand, you have to fight and scrap and force the door down with your performances and how you go about it. So again, I think it's not a bad thing. He's obviously had a real quick rise to success this season in terms of it. And then again, I think he's having a little bit of a challenging period at the minute, which is fine. I think it doesn't change what we think of him. We know his qualities. Our job's to coach him, to support him, and his job is, as he has done, I can't stress that enough, is turn up and work as hard as he can every day, which I have to say he's a credit to himself, because his attitude's terrific.
Just on the young player sort of vibe, someone I meant to ask a couple of weeks ago who's been around the squad, potentially because of a lack of defensive reinforcements, I don't know, but where do you see Jamie Knight-Lebel? Because he's one who's constantly been around the group, hasn't played, he's obviously starting regular for the 21s. Is he a player, for example, you might look to loan, or do you very much see him part of the first team squad, or is he kind of in between?
I think he's been terrific, and he's another one that, again, credit to the academy, a terrific character, Jamie, and he's in a really good spot at the minute. I think the training's a stretch for him, so being around the first team and experiencing it and tasting it, I think it's good for his development. He's learning that. Hoggy and the staff sat with him in the hotel actually on the night before, whatever day the West Ham game was, and went through training for 30 minutes, and I had a good discussion with him. I do think it gets to a stage where it'll need to play games, so I do think it will the 21 games are good, but I think at some point he needs to go and test himself against seniors, so a loan might be on the cards at some point. But at the minute he's in a good spot, he's learning, he's progressing, he's improving, and again, that's a decision that we'll make when we feel it's right.
So that could be this window, or potentially the summer, or that's undecided?
You can do bits outside the window as well, depending on what level you go to. So again, I think it's discussions I'm having with Brian at the minute that we're just kind of weighing up the options and seeing what it looks like.
Transfer window. Can you offer any update in terms of?
No, look, it's one of those, we're working extremely hard on it. It's as everybody knows, it's been so quiet, right? There's not been a huge amount of business done. It's so difficult. So I can assure you we are working extremely hard on it. And I'd love to be able to give you some news and some updates, but at the minute there's not too much, to be honest.
You wanted to get business done early, which I appreciate is a kind of an optimistic take on it. The fact, I don't know, is it still early? I'm not sure. It depends on your reading.
Anything before the 28th early.
Yeah, that's kind of, well, in a way, that was going to be my question. I mean, is that just something you just got to live with, really, the fact that sometimes the market doesn't work in your favour?
Yeah, definitely. You can't get hung up on it too much either as well. I think Sean in the department, Brian, obviously myself, we do a huge amount of work behind the scenes on it. So yeah, we'd love to be able to. Preference is to be able to do that, but at the same point, you have to react to what it looks like. I think there's two ways in the market. You have to be proactive and reactive. And again, I think we tried to do some early stuff, but obviously didn't come off. And then I think it's a case of now we're ready to go. We're still working hard on numerous bits behind the scenes, and like I said, the second that I've got something for you, I'll update you.
Could you perhaps, in terms of your role in it, I appreciate Brian maybe communicating with the clubs, that sort of thing, but like how, when you're discussing about players in terms of things like price, value, contract, that sort of thing, maybe in a hypothetical sense or in a real sense, how involved are you in that process?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I don't do the negotiations. I don't get into that side of it. Brian, to be fair, I have a really close relationship with Brian. We work extremely well, where we're daily dialogue numerous times, whether it be on the phone or face-to-face, around where things are at. And again, I think the big thing is around the transparency on it, which I think is important. So yeah, aware of it. But again, in terms of actually negotiating bits, that's not me.
One player obviously came in at the start of the window was Adam Murphy. He wasn't involved for the 21s. Is he kind of focusing on the physical side of things, as you kind of indicated last week at the moment, before he's playing games?
Yeah, it's the transition and making sure that, the guys downstairs in the gym, the testing they do, the medicals, staff as well, making sure that, when we put him on there, he's in the best place possible to stay on there. So again, I think rather than rush things to get games straight away, we know he's one that, is a project that we're going to work with over time. So again, I think it's getting solid foundations in place first before then going, right, now let's add.
Just on Joe, you mentioned about that edge. How important it is to have that sort of player or a player with that in your team?
Yeah, massive. I think it's becoming increasingly harder to find as well. To be honest, I think it's not a quality or an attribute you see loads in young players. That fire, that edge, that passion, and I think especially in the right way, like he started to show. I think what it does is you can shift the momentum in the game quite a lot. Whether it be a tackle, whether it be a little bit of a flare up, whatever it might be, you can unsettle people, but you can also give the lads around you a bit of a lift. And again, I think as long as it's controlled, as long as it doesn't detract from what we need to be doing, and people are able to still do their jobs, I think it's an attribute that definitely I think a team needs. And
his character, personality is quite unique in a way. I guess you could say that.
Oh, you said that, not me. To be fair, no, definitely he's. I think not just Joe. I think we've got some terrific characters that complement each other really well. I think when you look at the how they connect, how they get on, the relationships they have amongst each other. I think there's lots of unique characters in the changing room, which is important. I think you want different personalities. You don't want a load of robots in there. I like working with people, so I like seeing personality.
And I appreciate we asked you this fairly recently, but the natural sort of progression with someone like Joe, because he's out of contract, is there any development in that area at all regarding his situation?
No, not at the moment. Again, I think those conversations will be obviously initially between myself and Brian, and then obviously with Joe and the other lads that are out. But again, I think in terms of for me, we're concentrating on January at the minute. I think obviously Joe's just got back in and had a run of 3 or 4 games, which is his first in a while. So again, I think they're things that will play out in time.
Thanks, Liam.
Thank you.
A couple of youngsters who've had a taste of first-team football here in the past played for under-21s the other day, Duncan Idahan and Dylan Kaji. I just wondered if there's plans for them to go back out on loan in January this winter. Yeah,
they're training with the 21s, to be fair, and obviously you saw played the other day. So again, I think in terms of those decisions, there'll be ones that I'll obviously be involved with, but we'll discuss with Brian and the academy staff.
Yeah, and you mentioned after the West Ham game that you'd had a word with Tommy beforehand just to kind of reassure him and encourage him. He's spoken about his good relationship with Naki in the past. I just wondered, from your perspective, if you'd noticed how Naki's kind of helped him on and off the pitch this season.
Yeah, Naki's terrific, to be fair. I think how he conducts himself, how he is as a pro, again, one that we speak about how his character is. I think he and Tommy would be the first to say, I think you look how close the two of them are, and I think there's a real mutual respect, I think, and an understanding of, I know Tommy hugely respects Naki and his career and what he's done, but also, the pressure that he puts on him now. And again, I think that for me is, is great from my perspective, in that, Tommy's level for me has probably gone up a little bit since Naki's return. So again, I think knowing that, if you're not at it, if someone's, if you're not executing, someone's there to take your spot, I think, is a pressure that lads have to live with day to day, the same as all of us, right? I think so. I think it doesn't surprise me. I've seen that response, and you only have to see how they are around the building. They get on really well, and they're terrific together.
Yeah, and how valuable is that for all young players, but especially, I suppose, young strikers that can have like a more senior striker that's kind of been through those rough spells and can be there for them when they need them.
Yeah, invaluable, and I think, to be fair, we work really hard to get that out of the seniors. You look at Kingy, you look at Jamo, you look at Andy, you look at Naki. I think probably 4 of the more senior ones in the group. I think there's bundles of knowledge and detail and experience in there. It's for me, what we work hard to do is try and pull it out of them. So whether it be in team meetings, asking the senior lads what they think, whether it be in little individual meetings when sat with Tommy and done clips, Naki's come in it. I think them little bits, those. For me, we work hard to facilitate the sharing of that information and knowledge. So seniors are great. Can't speak highly enough of them.
Yeah, we mentioned Joe obviously going up a few levels in your time here. Another one who's made really big strides is Anis Mehmeti. Like I say, he's really progressed, but maybe that final touch in terms of goal assists hasn't quite reached the level that you or he would have liked. I just wondered if you'd had a similar word like you had with Tommy with Anis.
It's constant. I think that it's not just a one-off and it's fixed. I think it's that for me is really important, that how we work is a constant process to go through, whether it be developing the team or developing players within it. I think that, I've said it a lot, whether we win, whether we lose, we go through the same process. And again, I think that someone like Anis, that, you know, it's not just the finishing bit, it's also psychologically him having, you know, the confidence and the belief that, you know, he's obviously had a bit of a slow start to his life here. I think in terms of, you know, that knowing that he's not going to be hooked off after one game, I think's, you know, been quite important for him. And then now he's in a spot at the minute where there's so much good stuff. It's now, how do we, you know, do the final bit at the end? How do we make that consistent? And that takes time. That, you know, that drops with different people at different times, as you've seen throughout. You know, I'm sure if you think back of many players that you've watched, you know, it seems to click for them at some point. And that's the beauty of the game and the beauty of development. You don't know when it's going to happen. All you can do is turn up, do the work, do the video work. You know, constantly look at the things that will help you do that and allow you to do that. And yeah, hope that the penny drops.
And just on Hayden Roberts, I know you mentioned he was making good strides to return. I just wondered, is he still on track to return in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, very close. Yeah, so hopefully, yeah, I'm hoping by, you know, yeah, definitely in the next week or so that we're going to see him.
Cool. Thank you for your time.
Sorry, just one I forgot to ask them. On Joe, when you said his like the sort of the non-tangible qualities in terms of his sort of character on the pitch and what he does and wind-up merchant, whatever. When you say it's rarer in young players now, young people. Why do you think that is?
It's quite a deep, heavy conversation. To be fair, that was maybe one offline. Finish off a nice light one. Finish off on it. Communication skills, I think, in terms of, you know, just in general, maybe a little bit where the world's at, resilience and having to fight for things, and, you know, the edge. I think, you know, I look at how I'm bringing my son up. It's completely different to how I was brought up. So, again, I think, you know, we tend to do a lot more for them. So again, you know, that edge, that fighting spirit, that resilience that I think you need. Yeah, I think it's definitely something for me that I think is going to become harder for us to you know, see and to find in players.